I'll introduce myself first. I'm Lisa Brennan. I'm the managing director of a company called Strategic Ambitions that I set up about 3.5 years ago now. And very much a big part of my business is coaching people, and the biggest part of my business actually is called Graduate Ambitions, and that is an area that I have set up to really focus on supporting graduates as they transition from university into the workplace. And so we have some free resources and also some programs to help coach people as they look at their job search, look at their job applications, and also as they go through their selection processes, and then as they transition into the workplace, and trying to offer help and support where we can. And it's the best part of my job, actually, supporting graduates and students. I really feel very lucky that this is something that I'm involved in. And I'm joined today by Nicola Hayward from Moy Park. So I will pass you over to Nicola and she can introduce herself.
Hello. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. My name's Nicola Hayward and I work for a company called Moy Park. So I suppose I'll just start off, if everybody knows how to use, just on the bottom there is a little reactions button. I just wonder if anybody here prior to clicking onto here had actually heard of Moy Park. If you could just put a little, I think it's a thumbs up on this one, a thumbs up if you've heard. Excellent. Excellent. So yeah, don't worry if you haven't, there's a few coming through. I love a little thumbs up emoji. Great, so that's good. So there is a couple that have heard of us. So for those that haven't, or I suppose just to reinforce some of the things that you've already heard, so we're a food manufacturer, predominantly chicken products. You may have seen some of our packaging if you live in Northern Ireland. If not, if you have eaten chicken from Sainsbury's, Tesco, Waitrose, Aldi, you've probably eaten one of our products, but we also supply to McDonald's, KFC, Nando's as well. So very much in the own label brand, but a big range of chicken products there. We have sites across the UK, Northern Ireland, France and Holland, and we're owned by an American company called Pilgrims. So a bit about myself. I'm the early careers manager here at Moy Park, which means I have responsibility for recruiting apprentices, placements and graduate students, and also sort of helping design that programme so that they can get the best out of it and to really, really develop them as well. So I'm really passionate about what I do. I think there's some fantastic opportunities in our business and wider across all the different businesses as well for graduates at the minute. So I'm really keen to see if we can help in terms of you helping you to apply for the different roles as well. So like Lisa said, I can tell you a little bit more if you want to down at the end about the opportunities that we have available as well too. So yes, that's me. I could talk for ages, but it's not about me. It's about you guys today. So let's see where we go from there. Thank you.
Yes, and we have had some questions. So excuse me, I've got this screen here and this one where I've got all the questions coming in. So yep, as I said before, please feel free to put questions in the chat. We've got some questions that were submitted just prior to the event starting, and I want to start with Louisa. And her question, she's not got our microphone on at the moment, so she's asked if we can read this out for her, and she's wanting to know a bit more about the impact of recent virtual internships, because obviously this is something that is becoming more and more popular, especially at the moment when face-to-face events and face-to-face internships are really kind of at a minimum. And so she's asking if, in terms of virtual internships, how much do recruitment officers value these, and if where they should really be on your CV. How do you put across that you've attended these events? Because she's saying, well, obviously it's not practical work experience, you know, so where does that best sit? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that, Nicola?
So I would say that obviously things are changing quite rapidly in terms of the workplace, and virtual internships sound like a great idea of gaining any experience. So I would say really, yes, definitely needs to be on your CV in terms of capturing whatever skills you have learned. I would say that companies will be valuing obviously where people have been able to adapt themselves to be able to help support companies, even if that isn't a virtual rather than being face to face. So definitely anything on there that you can be putting any skills that you've learned while doing that, anything about your experience is definitely something we'd be keen to see as well, because like I say, we are forever adapting to this new way of working. In terms of where it goes, yeah, definitely within your work experience element, but definitely putting through there what skills you had gained from doing that as well.
Yeah, I think that is really important, because what I agree totally with Nicola, what you're trying to demonstrate is how that's helped to enhance some of your employability. So it's whether that is, it's helping with your knowledge and understanding of, you know, how something might actually work in practice, or a process that has been described to you on one of your virtual internships, or, you know, you've had experience of doing a case study, you know, whilst that might not be something that's live and happening in real life. Generally, these case studies are of issues or projects that have previously happened within that organisation or within that industry sector. So being able to put across that you've been involved in those case studies and highlight the kind of particular learning points for you. And as Nicola said, well, what are the skills that you've picked up with that? How does that then, how do you think you'll be able to translate that into your capability? And I would also say that for anything you put in your CV, it should be something that then you can enhance more when you go into a selection process, that you can talk in more detail about. So really it's you kind of cherry picking, you know, these are the most important things that I have been able to get from any situation, so from any type of experience, and then be able to put that across in more detail, and particularly where you have developed skills or knowledge or experience in an area that's listed on the job description or the specifications from the company, so you can start to match them up. So yeah.
And I think, Sarah, just carrying on from that one, where we've said, you know, working across the different things in a virtual environment, a lot of companies would have done that anyway. So a lot of companies, you'll find that in teams, they might not be, and particularly, I suppose, within our industry, there are different sites, there's different areas that you're working with. So again, that's something that not a lot of people have, because a lot of the things that we would see on CVs from graduates will be, well, I've worked in a graduate team doing this, so you're all in that room. So to demonstrate that, and then like Lisa said, to take that into your interview as well would be something that's quite appealing. So yeah, make sure it is on there, because that would look good.
Yeah, and I know that Nicola's already said that when you put it on your CV, to include it in your experience, because it is the actual experience. So I think that's really important, albeit that it is virtually. And if you want to, you can even break down your experience section into things like, you know, part-time work, volunteering, virtual internships, you know, so that you can band those certain categories together. So you don't need to be restricted to just having it all, just one big list of your experience. There you can categorize it out, because that makes it easier for you to make sure you've included everything you want to, and it also makes it easier for whoever's reading that CV at the other end.
Yeah. Simplicity is a really key. So please don't try and overcomplicate your CV, because we have a lot to go through. And what I would say is, if you can keep it simple and really, you know, make the bit stand out that you want us to see, that's relevant to, would be great. God sent to us, because we would just say, yeah, brilliant, that's really good, because it's one of our values, and when we like to have some simplicity in there as well. So yeah, definitely agree on that one.
Very good. We have had another question from Megan, and it's relating also to experience, and she's wanting to know, is it better to have relevant experience for the industry sector you're applying for, that might actually be kind of in the past, not so recent, or is it better to have more recent experience that might not be relevant to that industry sector? What's your thoughts on that?
These questions are all double. It's not just a simple question. There's a bit, yeah, okay. So I would say that any experience is good experience. So, and it can really depend in terms of the graduate program that you're going for as well. So again, pulling on our experience, I would say, yes, if somebody's had engineering, if somebody's applying for engineering, if they've had engineering experience in a food industry, then yeah, that looks great. But actually, if they've had engineering experience somewhere else, it's still as valuable. For our other ones, so things that are more generalists, so commercial, supply chain, we're not specifically saying you need to have had experience in there. That's more about the person as opposed to even the degree. It's about actually what is that person bringing. So if you've had experience where you can say, actually, yes, I can demonstrate the right skills, then it doesn't necessarily have to be in that sector, but it'd be things that, again, looking at what is it that that company is looking for. And what is it they're aiming to do? So at the end of that graduate program, what is that goal? Are they looking for us to then be within a role, or and that will help you then to make sure that you put again those right things onto the CV. So sector-based experience, yes, is handy, but it's not essential as well. So again, going back to I think what Lisa had said earlier, any volunteering experience is also really helpful. Any work experience, virtual internship, anything that you can get on there which is relevant to the role that you're applying for, it is really good to pull out. So things that you can demonstrate the skills that they're looking for would definitely be a key around there.
Yeah. And I think it's good to remember that your CV is, it's going to have like your kind of experience history on there. So even if you've got experience that is industry sector relevant and it's from a couple of years ago, it's still good to have that on your CV, because what you want to try and demonstrate is that there are skills that you developed during that time, but actually, although what you've done since then might not be industry specific, you still might be developing some of those skills even more. You still might be doing more problem solving. You might be doing building on your communication skills, being able to manage different stakeholders, because you could be doing that in day-to-day life as part of a part-time job or volunteering, even through university work, so there's a number of different ways you can do that. So if you're mentioning a particular skill, something that you're developed, in more than one area of experience in your CV, it goes to show that there's a depth of experience that you're building there, as well as just breadth, as well as having lots of things on your CV. So don't be afraid to mention all of the experience that you've got. And I think some people worry about how long their CV is actually going to be when they start to put things like that on there. So, I mean, typically, I know people talk about the 2-page rule, but if your CV goes on to 2.5 pages, but everything that's on there is relevant, it's not going to be the end of the world for a recruiter to see that. But if your CV is 5 pages long and actually it's just a big list of every subject that you ever studied at university, then that's not really telling the recruiters much more about you. That's like just really a transcript and that's not really what they want. So I don't know, Nicola, what your thoughts are on kind of length of CV.
Yeah, in terms of the length, I would say try and again my sort of top tip is really to understand what that business is looking for and tailor that CV. So it could be that the company's asked for specific details around what modules you've done that's relevant to that, but like Lisa said, don't list all of your modules, but any ones that you think would be relevant for the role that you're applying for. And again, picking out those things that you're really proud of that you've achieved in that work experience, and then particularly there's any skills that you think that have come up on that job spec. One of the other things I would say is it's quite good to have your CV there as a little bit of a checker. So when you are successful, because I'm sure you all will be after this, of getting through to the next stage, is to have that CV there as a little checker, so that when you're at that interview, you know what you've put onto that CV. Don't always rely on those people who are interviewing you to be checking that CV to what you said. So if they've asked you, what skills have you used before, or can you bring to this role that you've used before, be quite happy to list them again, what you've got on your CV, because they haven't always got the time to take that all in. So what they're looking for is, so many interviews I've been to and that person hasn't brought that across. They've had it in their CV, but they haven't then talked about it in the interview, and I can't score them on their CV at that stage. I have to score on what they're telling me then. So if it's lovely written there but they don't bring that to interview, I can't score on it. So I would say, make sure that whatever you're putting on there, say it again. Doesn't matter if you say it, you think, well, I've already put it on there. Assume that they don't know and start again from fresh. So yeah, that'd be one of my top tips as well. Did that answer the question that was originally asked? I don't know, it went a bit off.
That's fine. So it's always good to get additional tips to go
Yes.
through. I want to ask Sun about his question. I don't know, Sun, if you're able to ask the question yourself. I'm not sure. No.
That's fine.
I can ask that. So yeah, what they're asking is it good to put an introduction about yourself at the top of your CV, or is that irrelevant? And then there's a second question, but I will come back to that one because it's quite different. So yeah, what are your thoughts on like personal profiles, personal statements at the top of CVs?
I like a personal statement. Again, it's for us, it's very much on that person, and it's very hard to get a feel for a person from the written paper. So we do personally like a short, concise statement, but make it relevant. Again, I keep saying the same thing, make it relevant to the company that you're applying for and that job. So a little one to say, actually, you know, you could be highlighting some of the skills that's in there as well. But if you've researched the company, so, you know, have a look at the job description, what is it they're looking for, and then go on to their website, try and get a feel for what their vision is, what their values are, because that's really important to companies as well, that they like to express that. So do your research before completing your CV and do a few lines along the top so that we can get a bit of a feel for you. That will really help you stand out, because, you know, we can look through the list of the work experience, pull out those bits, but that's my eye catcher of actually, yeah, really want to find out a little bit more about what this person's about. So yeah, I personally quite like them, but again, it doesn't have to be chapter and verse, but just relevant to that as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think actually quite recently I've seen a lot of kind of posts about this. Some people saying, yeah, it's kind of a waste of space in your CV. It's also, you know, it's not relevant anymore. You know, people just tend to use kind of buzzwords in there, and it doesn't really mean anything. But I actually think, as Nicola said, this is a great opportunity for you to write at the start of your CV, help you to stand out, help you to come across on a bit of paper. And I would really say, you know, it's with everything you're doing in terms of how you brand yourself. And it's how would you introduce yourself if you were meeting someone face to face? How can you actually get that across in a few sentences? As Nicola says, doesn't need to be chapter and verse. It's about this is the real key reasons why I'm applying for this job. This is what I can bring. This is where I match you, basically. This is where your personal brand matches the brand of that job role and that company. So it's really important to highlight that. And there's actually another section on your CV where you can really pull that out as well. And that's where you talk about your key skills. Quite a lot when I see graduate CVs, they've got a list of their key skills, and it might be working as part of a team, or you know, good communication skills, project management. You know, these are kind of common things that come out. But having that list of skills on there doesn't really tell me anything about you as such. So I would think about what are the top 2 or 3 skills that you match with the job description, pull them out, have them on your CV, and just give a wee example of what that is, why you think you can demonstrate that skill. And it might be that you have taught yourself how to play music, some kind of musical instrument, and so that goes to show that a bit of creativity and innovation, because you've went to look at how you can do this a bit differently. It might be that you play in a team sport, you know, so what is that? What is your role? How are you communicating with the other people in that team? How are you trying to work towards the success of that team? And how are you learning from anything that kind of goes wrong? Or if, you know, you don't win a game, what does that mean? You know, and similarly, it could be that you've got a part-time job, and so there are different skills that you're picking up in that, or you're volunteering. So whatever those skills are that you're pulling out, just give a quick example of where you can demonstrate that, because it adds a bit of depth to your CV. And it starts to bring you and your personality through a bit more. I don't know how much, Nicola, you actually see that in CVs, or...
Yeah, it can be quite varied, and I think as well, don't underestimate the small things as well. We're not always, you know, we appreciate that graduates are coming in, they might not have had a wealth of experience within the workplace. We appreciate that, because some people have just very much looking at the studies and trying to get that best possibility as well. But there's so many things that you get involved in. So things like problem solving is always, you know, a key thing. You know, it could be that you actually really have a really great interest in jigsaws, or you have, you know, that it's little things. It's actually there is something there that is worth exploring a little bit more, or, you know, an example of that you can put in. But yeah, little bits of information there where you can demonstrate it, so it's not just a list of buzzwords that we've said, okay, and it just on there, just, you know, I can demonstrate this by something like, say, a team sport, or being involved in a some sort of activity would be good, or taking the lead in a project, whether that be at home or you know, within the university, is just as relevant. But just be wary with the university ones, because obviously there's a lot of the same things that come through. So everybody's been involved within a group activity, because that's the nature of this. So what was yours that was slightly different, that would stand out as well? The other thing, I suppose, around the personal statement, I would avoid putting photos on CVs. I don't know what your feeling is on Lisa on that one, but I don't think they add anything. I think sometimes they just distract from it. But again, that's my personal view. I'm not sure what your view is there, Lisa.
Yeah, I do also agree with that. And I know actually that in some cultures and in some countries, actually that is encouraged. You know, but definitely I would say in companies that I've worked with, probably more Western cultures, where they've got a Western based head office, whether that's in the US or Europe, or even, I suppose, actually in kind of Australia, they tend not to want a picture on a CV. Some of that comes back to their diversity and inclusion and equal opportunities, and they like things to be kind of as blind as possible when they're really looking at CVs, so that they can be seen to be equal opportunities as they approach things. But yeah, I just, personal preferences that they wouldn't have that. And also I do see quite a lot of CVs where it's not just a personal statement, that some people like to put on there kind of like motivational statements, or you know, even like prayers, or something that is really to kind of I don't know if it's to try and connect with the recruiter, or to just kind of show that this is part of their personality. But I would avoid those types of motivational statements or religious statements. Just really, I think actually there's quite a few things you would probably avoid putting on your CV, just because it's not necessary. If it's not going to help to demonstrate your employability in any way, if it's not going to help to demonstrate your knowledge, skills, or capability, don't include it.
Yeah.
Don't include it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
so that's we've got some questions again that we've been asked previously, and we've got one from Anne Marie. I'm not sure if Anne Marie's on here. We had a couple of people that asked a question and then said, could we just record it so that they could get the response? She's asking if we've got any suggestions that we could do to make your CV more appealing to recruiters, and I think we've covered quite a lot of that already with the key skills, with your personal statement. But I don't know if there's any other tips that you would offer, Nicola.
I think, yeah, so I think going back to it being clear and easy to read, a lot of the time we are now viewing CVs which will be electronically, so on the screen, so try not to use too small print. I know we can, you know, this going back to this 2-page, don't just cram loads of it and do it in a really small font, because sometimes it just makes it really hard for us ones with poor eyes to read. So just, you know, make it so that it's really clear, sectioned out, keep it personal, keep it relevant to, like I said, to that company. It's nice to it is handy to have lots of, you know, to have a standard CV, but use that as your base. And for each one, we're looking for people who have got a genuine interest into that company and that program as well. So that would help, I think, as well. But I think I've covered everything else. So yeah, look at a company's values and make it relevant to that role as well. And like I said, with if you think it's worthwhile putting on your university modules because it's relevant, then put them on. If not, it's just, again, a bit of a wasted space on there.
Yeah. And I think I would echo that element of it being clear and simple to read. I've seen quite a lot of CVs where people try to do things to make their CV stand out more. They put quite a lot of bold colours on, or they make it quite cursive writing, you know. And so what I would say is, actually, for the reader, that's actually kind of off-putting. Certain backgrounds make it difficult to read words, you know, especially quite deep reds, blue, greens. If that's your background, it can be quite difficult to actually read the text on. So I would say stick to like a very basic, you know, white or cream background on your CV, and avoid cursive fonts. You know, you stick to your basics like Arial, Calibri, Times New Roman. These are ones that actually, when you do research on it, these are the easy for the eyes to pick up. And also writing all in caps letters is sometimes difficult for the reader to look at. So you want to make it as easy for them to digest what you have on your CV. And I think we've mentioned a few times about you know, looking at what the job advert or what the website is perhaps saying about the key skills and keywords that they're using and they're looking for in their students and graduates. What I would say is, don't think that you can use a word in place of that. So if a company starts talking about collaboration and how they want people to collaborate, don't automatically just think that's the same as teamwork. You know, because for them in that business, they've spent some time thinking about what the values are and what the skill set is, and they name it a particular thing. And whilst they might be kind of interchangeable, if they use the word collaboration, you use the word collaboration. If they use the word teamwork, you use the word teamwork. So just notice those small things, because that just, again, it's easier for someone in that company to digest, because that's the way they're used to hearing it. And it's not just one person that will see your CV. There will be, you know, it will come in through a system. It will then be seen by probably someone in HR, and then it will go through into the business. So collectively, all of these people will all have the same understanding of the words that are used and the terminology that's used in their business. So try to use their terminology and language as much as possible on your CV.
Yeah, definitely agree.
So we had earlier on, we had a question from Sun, and I did mention that he had a second part to that, and I know that Ton is also very keen to understand the answer to that question. And he, what Sun had originally asked is basically, how do you apply for an internship in an area that you've got no experience in? So you're really challenging us this afternoon. These are some quite quite good questions you've got here. I don't know, Nicola, what's your thoughts on that? Obviously,
it's difficult. We offer placements, we don't offer internships, but I'm just trying to think. So in a similar sort of vein, I think again it's around what skills you can offer as opposed to that, and it will depend on what they're looking for in an internship. So it's such a broad area. You know, what are they offering for that? So for example, in terms of our placement opportunities, we are often not like a rotational one, so that you can get a feel for the food industry. So we would be saying, actually, you know, it's not again necessarily on the degree, because we appreciate that at this stage when people select their degree, they're not really sure what area they want to go into. They don't really know. And actually an internship placement's are really a way of finding out a bit more about that industry, or gaining some experience in there. So it's not, again, always around, that's your first stage of internships, of getting some information and gaining some knowledge and skills. So really it's about that understanding of the business, and also understanding what they're looking for, and using those skills as well.
Yeah. And I think actually it's really valuable when companies can offer like that kind of rotational option. It gives you the chance to you know, see things actually that you probably never even knew existed, and job roles that you never knew existed, but actually that you could apply your experience and your kind of education to you know, quite easily. So it's really important to get that. I think the other thing actually about when you are looking to move into an area where you perhaps don't have the qualification in that, or you don't have any experience in it, I would really think about why you want to do that. What is it that's driving you? Is it because you're really passionate about it, you're interested in? Is it because you've only just discovered it actually exists and you're like, yeah, this is the thing for me? And two things I would suggest that you do. One is start to build a network that helps you to get more access readily to either people or information that is relevant to that particular industry sector or job role. You know, so it's about connecting with people in companies that do that job, or that work in that particular industry sector, and have a look at what they're posting, what their companies are focusing on, and start then to put your own posts on, say, LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever it might be, and really kind of start to build up as being someone who, your own brand as being someone who is interested in that subject, and you've got opinions on it, you've got thoughts on it. Comment on someone else's post, but tag them in it, so that then they know that that comment is there and they might respond to you. And it starts then to build up people's awareness of you, and you start to get known as someone who, yeah, has got an interest in that, and they know something about that subject. And so then if you start to approach like either that person or a company, you might already have a network there, someone who can advocate for you, someone who could recommend you. And just really, if you then get to the stage where your application's been viewed in front of someone, they can say, I know this person, they were at this event, they were commenting on LinkedIn, you know. So it's starting to build up your own personal brand, and then it's taking that further into an application. And then, sorry, Nicola, were you going to add?
Oh, no, I was going to say just on the events and things now. So again, obviously a slight change with this year in terms of careers events and careers fairs and things that's going on. But if you are able to get to any of them to talk to people, then I would recommend it as well, to getting a feel for potentially different areas again that you might not have considered because you don't know what the opportunities are there. It's just how helpful to go in and have a chat. If you don't feel that you're confident enough to do that, there is other ways that you could contact them, like I said, through reaching out to people through LinkedIn. You know, that we're really keen to say, you know, speak to our current graduates, our current placement students, our current apprentices, to find out how, you know, how they're feeling, because they're the ones who are living and breathing it. So most companies will be really willing to give that time for people who are interested to find out a little bit more as well, to setting up things. So you know, don't always go for the big brands, because that's where a lot of the people will be heading towards and gravitating to. Sometimes the smaller names are the ones that have actually got the real gems of programs and opportunities that will give you what you need with less competition in some ways. So don't always rule them out, I think is what I'm saying, because there's a lot of opportunities in there. And like I say, if you can get placement internships, great, because it does add. If you're at the stage where you're applying and you haven't had that, don't think that it's going to put you at a disadvantage. But if you are in this position, you are able to get them, then I would recommend trying to have a look at what's available.
Yeah, definitely. And if you've got some connections, then you can just ask, you know, if there isn't a kind of opportunity for a virtual careers fair, or you know, even probably less likely at the moment, face-to-face careers events, then, you know, being able to ask someone, you know, have you got time for a virtual coffee? Do you mind if I ask you some questions? Do they have anyone else they can connect you with? So it's yeah, building that network, and then is using that information then in things like your covering letter and your CV about, you know, why is it that you're interested in this, you know, in your personal statement. You know, if it doesn't, if the area you're looking into is really kind of a bit left field for the degree you studied, you know, kind of try and put that into your personal statement about why you're passionate about this and why you want to move into the job, and make your CV more about these are the skills that match this job, rather than the skills you've got that match the qualification you studied. So they're just some tips I would give around about that. And I know that actually in terms of covering letters, I think Megan asked a question there. Let me just see if I can find it. Can't see it now. But there was a question that came through about covering letters, asking, you know, is that still something you should be doing? Is it still relevant? Are companies still looking for a covering letter? And again, what really should that contain? Do you see much covering letters now, Nicola?
Not really, not really. I would say that unless that company asks specifically for a covering letter, usually what's included in that personal statement and CV would probably suffice. I think that sometimes it can duplicate things, or like you say, sometimes become too buzzwordy on a covering letter. So I'm just trying to think. The last couple of years it seems to be less around there. And yeah, like I say, I much prefer a little personal statement to why they've applied, because then I know that I'm not getting a CV that's just been the run of the mill, as well. It's been thought through on that CV.
Yeah. I would say, yeah, it's something that you see less and less, especially at this stage in your career. I would say it's less likely you're asked for it. But I know obviously at the moment, not everyone will apply for graduate programs specifically. And also, you know, although I heard this afternoon that, you know, around about 35% of employers who recruit graduates are still planning to recruit the same numbers this year. 10% are going to recruit more, 15% have said about less, and about 40% aren't quite sure yet, but they think roughly the same. You know, so when you take that into consideration, you know, if you are applying for graduate programs, you might also want to look at roles that are also entry level roles. So that might be, that a role where you might need 0 to 2 years experience. And there's a lot of them coming up on the job market as well. So you shouldn't discount those, because just because it's not a graduate program doesn't mean you won't get the development, you know, that is required to allow you to use that as a stepping stone for your career. And if you're applying for those types of roles, sometimes agencies will ask you for a covering letter. Again, not so much companies themselves, because a lot of companies now are using applicant tracking systems. So all the questions that they want to ask will be set out in the actual system that you go on to apply on. But for agencies, they want to try and get a good understanding of you before they even pick up the phone. They want to kind of see where you might match, not just to the role that you apply for, but for other roles that they might have that are already on their books. So they might ask for a covering letter. And I would say that, again, that's probably more of an extension of your personal statement about why are you suitable for the role, you know, and what are some of the key skills that you want to highlight. And it doesn't matter if that's then repeated in your CV. This is just obviously maybe 2 or 3 paragraphs at a glance. This is what someone can see, and then it makes them want to go on and read more. So it's a bit of whetting someone's appetite. But I would say, like Nicola said, it's kind of less and less that you're getting asked for a covering letter. Tom had also asked, as a graduate with little work experience, should you consider applying to a job straight away, or should you consider internships and traineeships first?
I would say there's no issue in you applying for a graduate program, and again, it depends on the type of graduate program that you're applying for and what they're looking for. If they've said obviously they need somebody with previous experience, then yes. Things, even though, like we've said, work experience is not the be all and end all. It could be that you've developed skills in a different way. So potentially even having a Saturday job could help within, you know, working in a bar when they're open, you know, can give you some sort of skills as well. But, you know, volunteering, being involved in different clubs and things is skills as well that is as valuable really within the workplace that you can demonstrate on there. So it's not always essential to like I said, to have that work experience, but if you've got the time to apply and do traineeships, great. But you know, try applying for the graduate schemes and see how you get through on there as well.
Yeah, and I think it is definitely look at all of the options that are available to you. Don't discount anything. But I would say, what is your driver? What is your driver for applying for a particular job role, or a particular industry sector? Because some of this is about how much you're willing to compromise on as well. You know, you might think, actually, I really want to get that short, sharp burst of experience, and so an internship might give you that. But similarly, actually, if you've already got a lot of that experience on your CV, is that going to add additional value for you, or is it that you should go and just apply directly for job roles? And as we've already mentioned, they could be graduate programs or they could be entry level roles. Some of this is very much a personal preference. You know, there is no right or wrong answers. We can't say this is the perfect route that you will get to the job that you want. Some of it is trial and error. Some of it is suck it and see, as they say. It's like, you know, think about what it means to you and what your particular driver is for applying for a traineeship or an internship. if you're actually already at graduate level. You know, is it something that you feel you've got to do to tick some boxes, or is it that it would just be something to do? And so I would get you to think about that. I think, sorry, Nicola.
If you're in a position where you are not at graduate level, so if you've got another year and you have got the opportunity to do a placement year, I would always encourage it, because I think it actually adds value to your final years as well, because, you know, it gives you that focus in terms of what it is that workplace is. So people who have took a year out of their study and gone and done some work experience have always commented in terms of how more valuable they found that third year in terms of being able to focus and those skills as well. So if you are in that position that you have the option to, and you're unsure, I would recommend that you do look at it. And again, if you're not sure what industry, it doesn't matter. You can try something a bit different. It gives you that sort of effort on there. If you haven't had the opportunity, again, it doesn't matter. Go for the graduate jobs and see how you're going as well from there.
Yeah, some really good advice there. And I think when it comes to applying for job roles, one of the difficulties that, you know, some students find is that they also have to take into consideration that they need to apply for a particular sponsorship or a visa because they're currently studying under a student visa. And so we have had a question, and I have to say that the question around about visas and work permits comes up on every single graduate Q&A that I'm part of. And so it was Nikita that asked this question, and she's definitely not alone in being curious about what that means. I know from the companies that I work with and support that some of them do offer sponsorship, you know, as a company. They are more than willing, obviously, to sponsor if it's the right individual for a job role, that they will complete the sponsorship and help that individual to get the relevant work permit. What I would say that sometimes it's difficult for companies to do that at a graduate level, because there is a kind of particular salary level that you've got to be able to meet sometimes as part of the criteria, and often the actual salaries of the graduate roles themselves are below that specialist skill level. So if that does apply to you, some things that you can do are to look at probably direct entry roles, and because sometimes those salaries are slightly higher, so that might give you a better opportunity of securing a position where you might get sponsorship. I don't know, Nicola, what your experience of that has been.
Yeah, and I think you've summed it really well. So I think graduate programs as such, as Lisa said, it is sometimes very difficult in terms of being able to offer people that need a visa, and as is in that similar vein. But there is other roles, so like I said, direct roles within the industry. So a graduate program, as such, if you think about it, in that will give you, is a means to an end. So when I think about it from our perspective, we're looking to fast track talent. So we're looking to get talent to understand the whole of the industry in a very short period of time, with the aim of fast tracking to become a future leader or a manager, for example. If graduate, we do though have other graduate direct roles, but it wouldn't form a program as such. So it could be that actually it's just within one area, specifically there to fill a role, but they're looking for somebody with that graduate knowledge that, you know, they can apply in terms of the problem solving, somebody fresh talent in there, but it's not got the wraparound program in terms of potential management qualifications or rotational as much as another one be. So there is roles out there suitable for graduates that potentially could be offered to somebody that would require a visa, because again, it's that salary banding and uniqueness to that role that makes it a little bit difficult. So it could be just changing the way in terms of you look at it, but each company will do it differently, so it's worth asking that question. Some will put it quite obviously on there whether they do or they don't. If they haven't got it on, there isn't, I would always ask the question before applying, because unfortunately sometimes there's a filter that will just straight away filter that out as well. So but yeah, it might be that rather than looking at graduate programs, it's just looking at what physical roles are there that actually would benefit from a graduate being in that position.
Yeah. And I think one thing to remember is that if you're recruited into a company, especially if it's a global company and it offers a rotational program, sometimes also that can be difficult for organisations to get a visa for someone who then might actually move about and have to go to other countries, or where actually there's particular restrictions on information that they would need to get sight of, which would mean they might not be able to fulfil their job role. Because I know some sectors, particularly where they do work for Ministry of Defence or, you know, similar in other countries, their defence sector, that for a lot of the time it's like, you know, UK eyes only or European eyes only, you know. So if you come from a country out with that, then it can sometimes make it difficult for you to get all the information you need, and so that's actually not fair on you as an employee. You know, so think about the industry sectors that you're also applying for and which ones might be more suitable if you do need a visa for you to apply to. And as I say, there's probably some that are kind of automatically discounted, like that focus on defence areas and things like that. We have got time for one more question, and so Jean, you've asked a question. I don't know if you want to ask that yourself. I don't know what your sound and things are in the background. Typing away. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's not a problem at all.
I like the sound of our voices. That's what it is, Lisa.
Yeah, Jean's wanting to ask, and it's probably a good question to ask at the end. Like, what would you look for in a graduate that's applying to a graduate programme? So this is a great question for you, Nicola.
Oh, very good question. So what would I look for in a graduate applying for? So as I said, ours is very much a graduate fast track management program. So we're looking for what we call our future leaders. So one of the sort of the uniquenesses around our program is that we will be looking to rotate. So in terms of us, flexibility in terms of locations is really key. The willingness to be able to work in different environments and to be open to sort of any area is really key. In terms of specific skills, if you've been able to demonstrate problem solving, if you've had, it is nice to have had previous experience, but if you've been looking at if you've had any way you've been able to use skills in terms of team working, leadership, and then people, our values are very, very important to us. So we're very much look for people that have looked at our website and understood what our values are as well. It is really sort of key. We're looking for people that are self-motivated, able to work on their own, and really keen to take on learning and new challenges as well. I would say for us as well. So it's sort of quite an open skill set, but I think the aspiration and the willingness and the eagerness to learn in a sort of real fast-paced industry is quite key to us. But like I say, flexibility is one of those as well.
Yeah. I do think that with the backdrop of everything that's happened in 2020, that, you know, a lot of employers are really looking for individuals that, you know, that aspect of being able to manage change and being able to adapt quickly. You know, they are looking for people that can really, can do that, you know, more so than they've ever done before. Because obviously we've seen how overnight things changed, but workplaces still continued, people still carried out their jobs very well, you know. So it's about being able to do that and act in a kind of different capacity than probably you have done before. So yeah, and I think the other thing for me that I hear a lot of employers asking about, that Nicola kind of touched on in terms of learning and development, is curiosity, and not just curiosity about your own job, but curiosity about the company, and then actually also the social economic environment that kind of impacts on the company. So just having some of that kind of wider awareness of what's going on around about you, and understanding how does your job fit in with what everyone else is doing, and then, you know, what are some of the issues that the company could be facing, just so that you've got that awareness. So these are things that I hear a lot from some of the companies that I'm supporting. But yeah, a lot of what Nicola's already said so far really stands out in terms of what I hear other organisations saying as well.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of our recruitment is done around, like I said, Hannah keeps saying about our values, but it's done on based on, you know, have we got a values match there? So it's key to looking and understanding a little bit more. We would say for, again, sort of like engineering and technical, we'll be looking for specific degrees, but we also offer, that's where I do my little plug. So we offer graduate programs in supply chain, operations, engineering, technical, agriculture, HR, commercial. So when people think of the food industry, they only think probably of the factories and the operations, but actually there's such a wealth of supportive areas that's in there that we offer as well. So everything is on our website in terms of each of the different programs, about what you get involved in. And there's a little chat box on the website as well. So if you find that you're looking at it, you don't understand, it will connect you straight to myself and my team, that we could just answer any questions for you or set you up with one of our graduates to talk you through as well. So, you know, if it's not clear on there, we want to hear as well, because it helps us if we can put as much clarity on there for you to make you want to apply for these fantastic roles we've got.
Yeah. And I think one final thing I would say is that there is no perfect mold of the perfect graduate that's going to walk in the door. So you don't have to try to be that. Be yourself, because it's so important that you can be authentic and genuine when you go along to selection processes, because if you're trying to be something you're not, it's going to impact on your nerves too much, and then what you're saying isn't going to match what's got you to that point. You know, it doesn't match your CV, won't match your application, you know. So you want to just be yourself, and actually you is the value that you can bring to this company. So that's what you want to try and get across as much as possible, not some image of what you think the perfect graduate might be, because it doesn't exist, and we need different people for different things. And you know, that diverse range of who's in your workforce is what's going to replicate that diverse range of what's actually in your customer base. So definitely just go and be yourself.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Definitely just be yourself, because you know you're good enough in there as well, and to get that stage. So it's nice to see and to get to know people as well. So bring as much of that out as you can on your CV too. So that's good.
Yes. There was information about Nicola's opportunities for Moy Park on the Eventbrite page, but what we will also be doing is we will send you this recording, and we'll also send you the links for Moy Park, so you can go on and have a look at the opportunities that they've got. As the series goes on, because there will be more Q&A sessions between now and March next year, one every month, so you can feel free to come along to those, and they'll be advertised month on month with different panel members. And so for any vacancies that come up from any of the panel member companies across that period of time, whether it's for students or for graduate opportunities, you'll get access to those. We'll be sending them out every month on our newsletter, and also I'm going to put on sorry, that's my dog. I'm just putting a code in the chat for you that gives you £50 off the Graduate Ambitions coaching programme, and there will be more details to come on that as well, but just so that you've got that code at the moment. But we will also provide you with more details around about the link to that and how to use that code when we send out the link to Moy Park, and also to this recording document as well, so that you've got it. I do know there's a couple of questions we didn't quite get to, but I think that those individuals aren't actually on the call. So what we'll also do is we will be putting those questions onto LinkedIn, and myself and Nicola will respond to them in the comments. So you'll still get the benefit of seeing those, obviously the responses to those questions. But thank you so much for all your time this evening, and your questions. Some really great questions there. I hope you've all found it beneficial, and hopefully we'll see you again at some other future events.
Okay, good luck everybody.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, it's great to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Nicola.
Thank you, Lisa.